So I'm going to do this. It's 9/11. And I'll do the thing I promise you every time, have always, because I believe in challenging everything, is be intellectually honest. Kicking your intellect to the curb is never a good idea. Always challenge, always challenge. So I'll do that just in the name of being consistently intellectually honest. Even though it's disturbing, that I'm uncomfortable going here. I hate that. It's bothersome that I'm going to make a point. But here goes. And I do hate that. I hate that to do a show well, I think you always have to be intellectually honest, thought-provoking, funny, quirky, all that stuff, but be able to back it up and own it. And when you're afraid to do that, it's just too bad. That's just too bad. But I did a show on 9/11, the day of the 9/11. When the attack happened. And every year since then, I've not been in the business very long, but every year since then, I'm almost positive I repeat the same. It's not planned. I repeat the same thing every year. And I've just always felt compelled to do it. And so I'll do it again now, but I'm going to add something else, unfortunately. I'll add something else for all of us, unfortunately. Because I've been behind a microphone so many years now, it's a unique it's a unique perspective that at some level is a little terrifying now. It is. But I started my show that afternoon, saying, I'm uncomfortable sitting here today because I don't know what to say, and I don't think I should offer my opinion. Like, if you had to be in the talk show business, you would think that's just crazy. Why would you do that? And I have no idea. I was just being honest in the moment. There was nothing I could add that day. And I really thought I don't need to be sharing my opinion right now. And guess what? And I said this to the audience. It was not well received, of course. I said, I'm not comfortable being here today because I don't want to share my opinions right now. And I don't have any. I don't. And I said, I'm not comfortable hearing yours either. And it came from an honest place. That's all. I'm not even sure what happened the rest of a 3-hour show, to be honest. It was just that day is so horrible, such a blur. And it just, when I sat down, because I've told you many times, I don't like to script things out. I just think that great shows are done honestly and intellectually. So I said that on 9/11 that day, and I've repeated almost the exact same thing all these years about that day. We have a terrorism problem. Still. I heard this call, Brandon's favorite show, the Paul Feinbaum show. I mean, he just wants to record every caller and replay them and say, Jeff, did you hear this? And I'm joking. I think the last call, as I sit down in the studio, hear the guy saying something like, here it is 9/11. I'm going to repeat what I just said. We have a terrorism problem still, very much so. And I'm sure the guy don't know anything about him, don't care. And he said, Paul's blah, blah, blah. We got to respect each other's differences and things like that. Okay. So I want you to give me a chance before you do that attack thing. Somebody asked me one time, and I haven't done very many interviews in my career. I don't want to. It's not that I hate them. I just, when my work is done, I do a show, and I kid you not, I'm very quiet and I leave it behind. I move on. It's this freakish ability to compartmentalize, but I think it serves well for a talk show host. But I haven't done that many interviews, usually because I suck at interviews. I'm just not that interesting. And I remember the person was asking me, I think it was NPR. And it was interesting. It was a very kind of an adversarial thing, which is fine. I like it. I was fine with that. And the position she was taking is, hey, you just sit there and you're not doing news. You're offering opinions. And it came from a critical place. And I said, look, I accept I don't do news. And any talk show host that tells you they're doing news is intellectually dishonest, and it's wrong, in my opinion. I don't do that. I'm not leading you over a hill, ever. You're not my responsibility. I've got kids. I don't need you. I'm sharing opinions. And she said, well, but don't you have a responsibility to, fill in the blank? And I said, look, I accept that. I do. And I accept the criticism. This is what I do. This is my job description. I will own it. And I said, you know what? She goes, well, what are you then? I said, I'm a bar stool for hundreds of thousands of people stuck on MOPAC. That's what I do. And if you don't think that's very good, I accept that. And so, I don't know, it was interesting give and take. And then she said, in the interview, she said, well, what concerns you? What are you afraid of with your show? And I wasn't quite sure where she was going, but for some reason I responded pretty quickly. And I'll tell you, and this ties into my comment about terrorism. I said, there's two things. And I hadn't even been in the business very long. I said two things. I said, one is just being shut down. Bosses that don't like your content, people that are uncomfortable with it. I said being shut down. This was, I think, before we even knew the term cancel, but I meant the fear is being canceled. And I would assume every talk show should be worried about that stuff. And I said, the other part is, she goes, okay. She goes, you're dealing with the public, you're interacting with them daily. I said, yeah, exactly. I said, the other scary part is, she goes, what are you afraid of? I said, the person that believes God told them to kill me. And then she had no idea what to do with that, and I wasn't quite sure either. I wasn't quite sure what I meant by that, but over the years, I've sort of learned. What is terrifying today, so I'll tie this all in. What is terrifying today is the default position that not everybody has, but a lot of people have, and an increasing number of people have. What I'm going to tell you is what should be bothersome to you, it's bothersome to me, and it should be worrisome to everyone is how many people have allowed themselves to become radicalized. And that is the term. It used to be a term back around 9/11 we used a lot, and it was justified. But we don't like to use that term on people in this country. That's who should worry you, is the people that allow themselves to be radicalized, not those of us that disagree. We can disagree all day. You can hate what I say, like what I say. I can hate what you say. The difference is the people that allow themselves to become radicalized. And over time, I figured out, I know what radicalized mean. That's that person who I talked about that said, God told me to kill you, so I will. That person is justified in hurting someone in their crazy mind. That's a terrorism problem. These are the people. They very much exist, trust me. These are the people that go after organizations, that go after businesses, that go after media companies. And unfortunately, media companies cave in a lot of times. Far too often, I think. I just think far too often we don't meet criticism head on very well. But whatever. They go after people to shut them up, to shut them down. Okay? But what's much worse than that, and that's bad, and it's increasingly a problem. It is. But what's worse is that on 9/11, we have to own our domestic terrorism problem. And domestic terrorists find a way to justify their radicalism. It's not God told me to kill you, so I will. It's I don't like you, so I'm justified in killing you. We have people that are easily radicalized, too easily radicalized. The person that I mentioned, as I said, God told me to kill you, so I will. That's the person who justifies killing you if you're an insurance executive. They've justified it. They've been radicalized, and they now justify going to extremes. I mean, one thing it used to worry about the extreme was, well, I'm going to have you shut down. I'm going to call the advertisers. I'm going to be a crybaby and shut you up. It's worse than that. It's the person that is justified being a terrorist. I'll kill you because you're an insurance executive. I'll kill you because you have a certain letter next to your name. You're a Minnesota state rep. I'll kill you because you're a talk show host I find despicable. That's the radical problem we have. Not back then, now. Now. Then you're going to scream back at me and say, what's the answer? I don't have one. I don't. I really don't. I'm just telling you on 9/11, we got a problem. We have the same problem, same radical problem. Different looking people, different forms, but it's the same radical problem because radicals, people that are radicalized, justify the killing. They found a way. I'm supposed to. And then you fill in the blank, right? Insurance executive, politician, talk show host, influencer, whatever, just insert it. I mean, that is, we've reached this point where this justification over, we remember, what was it, the cartoon, the radical cartoon in Paris where these radicalized terrorists went after the cartoonists and were trying to kill them and killed several of them, by the way. And that felt so foreign and far away to us until we found ways to radicalize here. Same thing. The people that are radicalized are now homegrown, and they are the absolute definition of terrorist. I mean, right? It's the people that believe that it's right to hand out the death penalty for being an executive, being a Republican, Democrat, talk show host, influencer. They find a way. That's the terrorism of today. It's justifying being radical to justify the killing. Those people, my point is, those people very much exist. I'm just saying this just from a person behind the mic. Having been here on 9/11, thinking about that day on 9/11, the day that, you just couldn't comprehend it. How can that happen? How could somebody think that way? I'm telling you, in light of the last few days, and probably more to come in the next few days, we have a domestic radical terrorism problem. I don't know the fix, and I'm not going to offer one. I don't know that you do. I suspect not. But to think then, and our concerns then, and our concerns over the next several years, to what should be our concern now, which I think is of most normal people. So here's a disturbing stat. Read this. There's a story in the New York Times today. And I'm not even going to offer political, I think people insert politics. I think we pretend our disagreements are political. No, they're not. We don't disagree about taxes ever. We don't fight about taxes. We don't fight about property taxes, tariffs. That's not the stuff. I think that's an easy hijack we've all taken to hide behind something far worse, far more cultural, far more in hate. I would welcome a debate on taxes sometimes. We don't do that stuff. We're not mad at each other over that, unfortunately. We should be. It's worse than that. It's radicalized now. And notice not once before you want to attack me, because I know you will. Some people will. I know you will compartmentalize and say he meant. I have not yet identified one single political party. I've said we have a radical terrorism problem. And radical terrorists find a way to justify it. So this is a New York Times story today, and it really should be must read for all of us. Again, I don't know that it's saying anything I'm not sharing right now. I'm not saying anything most of you, I hope, don't agree. I'm assuming you agree with, and you'd say the same thing. I'm not offering any great insight. I'm not pretending to, not leading you anywhere. But the New York Times had a story today, and it said a large percentage, right? And a large percentage, here's a problem, hates the New York Times without even reading. 1/5 of Americans believe political violence is sometimes justified. Again, I don't believe practically anything now is rooted in politics the way most of us knew it. Politics used to be policy that used to be different. We don't fight about Social Security or tariffs. That's not it. But it's the term we use. 1/5 of Americans believe political violence is sometimes justified. Now, this is a day before 9/11 I'm reading this. 1/5 believe that it's sometimes justified. Now, what should worry all of us, and I think does, is that on top of that, what percentage of that 1/5 is radicalized? Right? That the radical that we say seemed so, it was foreign to us, literally foreign to us, years ago on 9/11, is the radical that's here now for any number of reasons, going to find any number of people that justify the killing. What percentage of that 1/5 is radicalized? And they're going to be homegrown more times than not. There. Not claiming to have accomplished anything just now. When you sit behind a mic on that day, and then you sit behind a mic all these years later, taking it all in, certainly over the past few days, and you read a story like that, we have a terrorism problem still. Hey, here's a recommendation backed up by my own experience, a great experience. And that is, I've been a client of DJC Law, and I can tell you this, you're going to get 3 things with DJC Law. You'll notice it right away. The difference is you will get peace of mind. They will take care of every single detail perfectly, and you will get the result you deserve. If you're injured by the negligence of someone else, fighting with an insurance company for any reason, trust me when I tell you, you will need DJC Law. Dan Christensen and his team of attorneys have a remarkable track record. I've known Dan a long time. He's a military vet. He's board certified in civil trial law, and I've been a client. So you can trust them. You will get the result you deserve. Check out teamjustice.com, and you'll see thousands of 5-star reviews. The bottom line is, if you're in an accident, you need DJC Law. Contact them right away. 512-888-9999.